Layla had just finished her shift at the small bakery she worked at downtown. It had been a long day and her feet ached from standing for hours. But she didn't mind too much. She loved her job. There was something comforting about the smell of fresh bread and the warm hum of the ovens. She grabbed her bag, stepped outside, and started walking home. The streets were quiet now, with the late afternoon sun casting a golden glow over the sidewalks. People were heading home from work, some chatting with friends, others hurrying along, lost in their own thoughts. As she walked down a familiar street, something unusual caught her eye. Near the corner, a small group of kids was surrounding someone. Layla frowned. She couldn't hear the words clearly from a distance, but she could see the body language. The kids were laughing and pointing, but the figure they were surrounding didn't look like it was having fun. It was a boy, and he was sitting in a wheelchair. Layla quickened her pace, a knot of worry forming in her stomach. She had seen bullying before, but it never failed to make her heart ache. When she got closer, she could hear the mocking words. "You can't even get around by yourself," one of the kids shouted. Another one snatched at the boy's backpack and tried to tip the wheelchair. The boy struggled, trying to keep his balance, but it was clear he was having a hard time. Without thinking twice, Layla stepped forward. "Hey, leave him alone," she shouted, her voice firm but calm. The group of kids turned to her, surprised by her sudden appearance. Some of them muttered under their breath, but they quickly dispersed, running off down the street. Layla breathed a sigh of relief and turned to the boy. He looked up at her with wide eyes, a mixture of fear and gratitude. Thank you," he stammered. His voice was quiet, almost trembling. Layla smiled gently. "It's okay." "Are you hurt?" she asked, kneeling slightly to be at his level. "No, just, they're mean," he said, his eyes downcast. Layla nodded, understanding more than words could say. She could see that the boy was small for his age, with dark, expressive eyes that seemed older than they should be. His hair was neatly combed, and his clothes were clean but simple. He held onto the wheelchair tightly as if it were the only thing keeping him safe. "Can I help you?" she asked softly. The boy hesitated, then nodded. I was trying to get home, but they won't leave me alone." "All right," Layla said, standing up and extending her hand. "Let's get you somewhere safe." She guided him slowly down the sidewalk, making sure the wheels of the chair didn't get caught on the cracks. As they walked, Layla tried to make conversation, hoping to ease the tension. "Do you come down this street often?" she asked. The boy shook his head. "No. I usually take the bus, but today, my mom said I should try walking a little." Layla smiled. "That's brave of you." He gave a small smile back, the kind that looked like it hadn't appeared on his face in a long time. They continued walking, the city sounds around them fading into the background. Layla noticed that people were glancing at them, some with curiosity, others with indifference. But she didn't care. Right now, the boy needed her, and she wasn't going to leave him. After a few blocks, they reached a quiet park. Layla helped the boy maneuver his wheelchair onto a soft patch of grass, away from the street. He looked around, eyes wide with wonder at the simple beauty of the trees and flowers. Layla sat beside him on a nearby bench. "Do you want something to eat?" she asked, reaching into her bag. She pulled out a small sandwich and a juice box she had saved from her break. The boy's eyes lit up. "Thank you," he whispered, taking the sandwich carefully. Layla watched him eat, feeling a warm sense of satisfaction. It wasn't much, but she knew it mattered. Even small gestures could make a difference when someone felt alone and scared. After he finished eating, she leaned back on the bench. "You know, it's not right for anyone to treat you like that," she said. "You didn't do anything wrong." The boy looked down at his hands, fidgeting with the straps of his wheelchair. "I know, but it happens a lot," he said softly. "People, they just stare, or laugh, or push me around." Layla's heart sank. She knew the world could be cruel, especially to those who were different. "I'm sorry you have to deal with that," she said. "But you don't have to face it alone. Not while I'm here." He glanced up at her, and for a moment, there was a flicker of hope in his eyes. "Really?" he asked. "Really?" she said firmly, smiling. For the next hour, Layla stayed with him, talking about simple things: school, favorite cartoons, the best kind of ice cream. The boy's laughter, small but genuine, started to replace the nervous tension in his shoulders. Layla realized how much he needed someone to just be there, to listen, and to show that kindness existed even in a world that often ignored or hurt him. As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, Layla knew it was almost time for her to head home. "I should probably get going," she said reluctantly. The boy looked disappointed. "Will you come back tomorrow?" Layla smiled. "Of course, I'll check on you." He smiled back, and this time it was brighter, more confident. "Thank you for everything." "You're welcome," Layla said, standing and helping him back onto the sidewalk. She guided him safely across the street and made sure he was on the path toward his home. He waved at her as she turned to leave, and she waved back, her heart feeling full despite the long day. Walking home, Layla couldn't stop thinking about the boy. She didn't know his story, his family, or what life had been like for him. But she knew one thing for sure. Helping him today had been the right thing to do. She felt a mix of exhaustion and satisfaction, a quiet happiness that came from making a small difference in someone's life. Little did she know, this chance encounter was only the beginning. The boy she had helped wasn't just anyone. He was Caleb, the son of a powerful billionaire, though she had no idea of that yet. To Layla, he was simply a child in need of kindness. And for Caleb, she was the first person in a long time to treat him with pure compassion, without judgment or pity. That evening, as Layla settled into her small apartment, she couldn't shake the image of his grateful eyes. She thought about the children she had seen bullied before, the people in her community who struggled quietly, and the small ways she could make a difference. Her life was simple, her means modest, but her heart was big. And she realized something important. Sometimes the smallest actions could leave the biggest impact. The next morning, she woke up early, thinking about Caleb. She decided she would go check on him again, not because she expected anything in return, but because she genuinely wanted to help. Little did she know this act of kindness would lead her into a world she never imagined, connecting her life with a boy whose family had wealth and influence beyond her wildest dreams. As she prepared breakfast and got ready for her day, Layla felt a sense of purpose she hadn't felt before. Helping someone like Caleb, seeing the spark of hope in his eyes, reminded her why compassion mattered. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but she knew she would face it with an open heart, ready to help, ready to care. And so, the story of Layla and Caleb began, one simple act of kindness at a time. A story that would change both of their lives in ways neither could imagine, starting with a single moment on a quiet street where a woman decided to stand up for a boy who needed her. The next day, Layla woke up feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. She had promised herself she would check on the boy from yesterday. His face and those shy, grateful eyes kept coming back to her thoughts. She knew she couldn't just walk past someone in need. Helping him yesterday had felt right, and she wanted to continue. After finishing her morning routine, she grabbed her bag and left her small apartment. The streets were quieter now, with the morning sun painting everything in warm, soft light. As she walked toward the street corner where she had met the boy, she kept scanning for him, hoping he would be there. Sure enough, not far from where she had last seen him, a familiar figure came into view. The boy was in his wheelchair, slowly navigating the sidewalk. His small frame and careful movements tugged at her heart. When he noticed Layla, his face lit up with a shy smile. He waved and she waved back. "Good morning," Layla called, approaching him. "Hi," the boy replied softly, a little more confident than yesterday. "I didn't know if you'd come." "I wouldn't forget you," Layla said warmly. "Are you okay?" He nodded. "I'm fine, just trying to get to school." Layla glanced around and saw a few other kids nearby, some giving curious looks. She knew it wouldn't take much for teasing to start again. "Let me help you," she said, walking beside him. She gently guided the wheelchair, keeping an eye out for any trouble. As they moved along, she tried to make the conversation light. "So, do you like school?" she asked. The boy hesitated. "Some days," he said. "I like learning, but sometimes it's hard. People don't understand me, and I get teased a lot." Layla nodded, understanding. "It's not easy being different, especially when people aren't kind. But that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. You're amazing just the way you are." He looked at her, surprised by her words. "Really?" "Really," she said. "And it's not just what I think. Anyone who gets to know you will see it too." They continued walking, and she noticed small things about him that made her heart ache and smile at the same time. The way he looked around carefully, making sure the path was safe. The way his hands gripped the wheels with determination. Even though he struggled with certain movements, he had a quiet strength that was remarkable. When they reached a small park halfway to his school, she suggested taking a short break. He agreed, and they moved to a bench under a shady tree. Layla reached into her bag and pulled out a few small snacks. "Here, I thought you might want something before school." He accepted a small granola bar, his eyes shining. "Thank you," he said. "You're welcome," Layla said, smiling. "You know, it's okay to accept help. It doesn't make you weak. It just means you have people who care about you." He nodded, looking down at his hands. Then he looked up at her and whispered, "I don't have many people like that." Layla's heart tightened. "Well, now you do," she said softly. For the next few minutes, they talked about simple things. What he liked to draw, his favorite subjects at school, and the cartoons he enjoyed watching. Slowly, the boy began to open up, sharing small stories about his life at home and school. Layla listened carefully, nodding and offering encouragement. She didn't interrupt with advice or judgment. She just listened, letting him feel heard. After the short break, it was time to continue toward school. As they walked, a group of kids from yesterday's crowd appeared again. Layla's heart sank, but she didn't panic. She stayed close to the boy, walking with confidence. The bullies laughed and called out to them, but Layla held her ground. "Ignore them," she said quietly to the boy. "They don't matter. You're stronger than their words." He took a deep breath and tried to follow her advice. Though he still felt nervous, having Layla beside him gave him courage. They passed the bullies safely, and Layla felt a surge of relief. When they finally reached his school, she helped him park the wheelchair in the designated area and made sure he was comfortable. "I'll check on you again after school," she said. "And remember, you're not alone." He smiled at her, a smile that seemed brighter than yesterday. "Thanks," he said. "See you later." Walking home, Layla felt a strange mix of emotions. She was happy that she could help, but she also felt a sense of responsibility. This boy needed support, not just from her, but from people who could make a real difference in his life. She thought about her own childhood and the moments when someone had shown her kindness. She knew how powerful that feeling could be and how it could change a person's day, or even their life. The next few days followed a similar pattern. Layla would meet him on the street, help him navigate safely, and spend time talking or sharing a small snack. They started to build a routine, and slowly trust grew between them. The boy, whose name she learned was Caleb, began to look forward to her visits. His shy smiles became more confident, and he even started to share little jokes and stories from school. Layla noticed how much he enjoyed the simple gestures, a warm drink, a snack, a kind word. She realized that these small acts of care mattered more than she had imagined. It wasn't about fixing everything in his life. It was about making him feel seen, valued, and safe. One afternoon, as they were resting in the park, Caleb said something that made Layla pause. "You know, most people just look at me and feel sorry, but you don't. You just help." Layla smiled. "That's because feeling sorry doesn't help anyone. Caring and helping, that's what makes a difference." He looked at her, thoughtful. "I wish I had more people like you in my life." "You do now," she said softly, "and I'll keep being here for you." As the days went by, the bond between them deepened. Layla began to notice small changes in Caleb. He was more confident when speaking to others, he smiled more, and he seemed more willing to try new things. The world hadn't changed, but his experience of it had. Layla realized that kindness didn't just help in the moment. It could have lasting effects. One rainy afternoon, they found themselves stuck near a busy street. Caleb was struggling with the wet wheels of his wheelchair, and the traffic made him nervous. Layla stepped in without hesitation. She shielded him from the rain with her jacket, guided him carefully across the street, and held an umbrella over him until they reached shelter. He looked up at her with wide, amazed eyes. "You always help me," he said, his voice filled with awe. "I promised I would," Layla said, smiling through the rain. "And I meant it." That evening, as Layla returned home, she felt tired but fulfilled. She had given time, care, and attention, and it had mattered. She thought about how easy it would have been to ignore him, to walk by and assume someone else would help. But she hadn't. And because of that, Caleb had felt supported, safe, and valued. Over the next few weeks, word started to spread in the neighborhood. People noticed Layla's kindness, though she never sought attention or praise. Some parents thanked her quietly, some neighbors watched in admiration, and a few even tried to warn her that she shouldn't get too involved. But Layla didn't mind. She wasn't doing it for recognition. She was doing it because it was right. Caleb, meanwhile, began to show more of his personality. He shared little achievements from school, sketches he had drawn, and even simple jokes that made Layla laugh. She realized that helping him wasn't just about keeping him safe. It was about encouraging him to grow, to feel confident, and to enjoy life despite the challenges he faced. Through these simple daily acts of kindness, a strong friendship was forming. Layla and Caleb relied on each other in small but meaningful ways. She provided support, guidance, and encouragement, while he offered trust, gratitude, and moments of joy that brightened her days. Layla didn't know it yet, but these small interactions were laying the foundation for something much bigger. Caleb's life was about to intersect with hers in ways she couldn't imagine. But for now, it was just a woman helping a boy on the street, building trust, sharing kindness, and proving that even the smallest acts could create a ripple of hope in someone's life, and that was enough to keep her going. It was a bright morning when Layla decided to meet Caleb again. The routine of helping him had become a part of her life, and she looked forward to their time together. As she walked toward the street where she usually met him, she noticed something unusual. A well-dressed man was standing near the corner, watching quietly. He didn't approach or call out, but Layla couldn't help noticing him. When she reached Caleb, she was relieved to see him smiling. "Good morning," she called. "Hi," Caleb replied, a little hesitant. I didn't know you'd come this way today." "I always do," Layla said warmly. "Are you ready to head to school?" As they started moving down the street, Layla noticed the man from before walking slowly behind them. She frowned but didn't say anything. Maybe he was just another passerby. Still, there was something in the way he observed Caleb, the careful, almost protective way he stayed at a distance. Layla couldn't shake the feeling that he was important somehow. They stopped at their usual park for a short break. Caleb seemed more relaxed than usual, and Layla handed him a small snack from her bag. As they sat on the bench, Caleb's eyes wandered toward the man across the street. "Who's that?" he asked quietly. Layla followed his gaze. "I'm not sure," she said. "He's just watching?" Caleb nodded, a small frown forming. "He looks serious." Before Layla could respond, the man approached them. Layla stood protectively, placing herself slightly between Caleb and the stranger. The man stopped a few feet away, smiling gently. His demeanor was calm and respectful, but there was a sense of authority about him. "Good morning," the man said, his voice polite. "I hope I'm not intruding." "No, you're fine," Layla said cautiously. "Can I help you?" The man looked at Caleb, then back at Layla. "I wanted to speak with you about Caleb," he said. "My name is Gregory Reynolds. I'm his father." Layla's eyes widened. She had no idea who this man was, but something about his presence felt different. She glanced at Caleb, whose eyes widened as well. "My father?" Caleb whispered, looking at Layla for reassurance. "Yes," Layla said softly, understanding the boy's surprise. "It's okay, Caleb, you're safe." Gregory nodded, his gaze kind but serious. "I've been observing Caleb for a little while," he explained. "I wanted to ensure he had someone looking out for him, someone who treats him with care and kindness. And I think I've found that in you." Layla felt a mix of shock and disbelief. She had been helping Caleb without knowing anything about his family, and now she was being acknowledged by a billionaire, someone whose life was completely different from hers. I don't know what to say," Layla stammered. I wanted to help him. He needed someone to care, and I thought I could do that. Gregory smiled warmly. And you have. You've treated him with genuine care, without expecting anything in return. That is rare, and it matters more than you might realize. Caleb looked up at Layla, eyes wide. You knew? He asked. Not until now, she said, kneeling beside him. But it doesn't change anything. I'm still here for you. Gregory's gaze softened as he watched them interact. I can see that, he said. And I want to thank you for everything you've done. Caleb is lucky to have met you. Layla felt a warmth spread through her chest. She had never expected recognition. But hearing these words made her feel that her efforts mattered. She looked at Caleb, who seemed more relaxed now, as if knowing his father was nearby but not judgmental brought him comfort. Over the next few minutes, Gregory explained a little about his life and Caleb's. He wasn't trying to overwhelm Layla with wealth or status. He simply wanted her to understand the situation. Caleb had always been a quiet, observant boy, and his disability made him vulnerable in ways most people didn't notice. Layla had been a constant source of support, and Gregory realized how much that had meant to his son. I would like to offer my support, Gregory said finally, not just for Caleb, but for you as well. I can help ensure that your kindness can reach more children who need it, just as you have helped Caleb. Layla shook her head gently. I don't know if I'm ready for that. I'm just a regular person. I don't have experience with this kind of life. Gregory's expression was understanding. You don't need experience. You have something more important. Genuine care, compassion, and the ability to connect with people. That is rare. That is what matters. Caleb listened quietly, absorbing the conversation. He had never known his father to be so open and approachable. Seeing Layla treated with respect and admiration made him feel proud. He reached out and held her hand briefly. A silent thank you for being by his side through everything. I think I understand, Layla said softly, her voice steadying. If this is about helping more kids, then I'll try. I'll do what I can. Gregory nodded, satisfied. That is all I ask. And please know any support you need, any guidance, I am here. For both of you. As they talked, Layla realized that this encounter wasn't just about Caleb's father recognizing her efforts. It was a turning point. A bridge between two very different worlds. She'd been helping a boy on the street, never imagining the reach of her actions. And now, the world around her was shifting in ways she hadn't expected. After a while, Gregory excused himself, leaving Layla and Caleb alone for a moment. Caleb looked at her, a mixture of awe and relief in his eyes. Layla, you didn't know he was my dad? He asked softly. No, she said, smiling gently. And it doesn't change anything. I'm still here for you, Caleb, always. He smiled back a little more confidently now. I'm glad you're my friend. And I'm glad you're my friend too, Layla replied. For the rest of the day, Layla and Caleb continued their routine, but there was a subtle shift. Caleb seemed more at ease, more willing to talk about his life and his feelings. Layla noticed that he laughed more freely, shared more stories, and even expressed small hopes and dreams he had been too shy to voice before. Layla realized that the simple acts of kindness she had shown were now reinforced by a sense of security. Knowing that Caleb's father was aware of her care, and that he approved, gave her a new confidence. She wasn't just helping one boy. She was becoming part of a network of support that could truly make a difference in his life. Over the next few days, Gregory made small appearances, always respectful and unobtrusive. He watched as Layla interacted with Caleb, noting the genuine warmth in her approach. He could see that she wasn't doing this for recognition or reward. She cared because she wanted to. And in a world where money and status often overshadowed human connection, that mattered more than anything. One afternoon, as they sat in their usual park, Caleb asked, Layla, do you think maybe we can do more, like help other kids too? Layla smiled, her heart swelling with pride. Yes, Caleb, I think we can. One step at a time, though. We'll figure it out together. Caleb nodded eagerly, as if this small idea was the start of something big. Layla felt the same. She realized that her journey with Caleb was no longer just about helping him navigate the streets safely. It was about building confidence, creating opportunities, and showing him that the world could be a place of kindness, even when it often wasn't. That evening, as Layla returned home, she reflected on the day. She thought about how small gestures of care had led to a life-changing encounter. She had met a boy in need, helped him without expectation, and now found herself connected to a family whose influence could amplify her impact. But more importantly, she had seen the effect of genuine kindness on a child's heart. She knew there would be challenges ahead, new responsibilities and decisions that would test her. But for the first time she felt ready to face the unknown, ready to continue helping Caleb, and ready to embrace the opportunities that kindness had unexpectedly brought into her life. And so, a simple act of helping a boy on the street had grown into something far larger, a connection that would change lives. Not just for Caleb, but for Layla and the community they would reach together. It was a moment she would never forget, the day she realized that care, compassion, and a willingness to help could bridge worlds and transform hearts. After the day Layla met Caleb's father, her life began to change in ways she had never imagined. At first, she wasn't sure how to feel. On one hand, she was still the same woman who loved her simple life and her bakery job. On the other hand, she now had a connection to a family whose wealth and influence could open doors she had never dreamed of. It was overwhelming, but at the same time, it gave her hope that she could do more than she ever thought possible. The next morning, Layla woke early, as usual, but this time with a renewed sense of purpose. She had decided that she would continue helping Caleb, of course, but she also wanted to think about ways to reach other children like him. Children who were bullied, lonely, or struggling in silence. Children who needed someone to care. As she walked toward Caleb's street, she carried with her not just her usual bag of snacks and small comforts, but also a new determination. She arrived to find Caleb waiting, smiling shyly as always. Today, however, there was an excitement in his eyes, a spark that hadn't been there before. "Good morning," Layla called, walking up to him. "Hi," Caleb said, grinning. I have something to show you." Curious, Layla followed him as he guided his wheelchair down the familiar path. They reached the park, and Caleb pointed to a small corner where he had been collecting some of his drawings over the past few days. "I drew these for you," he said proudly, "to say thank you for helping me." Layla knelt beside him, touched by the gesture. The drawings were simple, but they were full of warmth and care. Some were of her and Caleb together smiling. Others were of imaginary adventures with friendly animals and happy places. Layla felt her eyes prick with tears. "These are beautiful, Caleb, thank you," she said softly. He smiled, a little embarrassed but proud. I wanted you to know you're special to me." Layla reached out and gently held his hand. "You're special to me too," she said, "and I want to help more kids feel that way. Just like I'm helping you." Caleb looked at her, eyes wide with hope. "Really?" "Really," she said firmly. "And I think we can start small. We don't need money or big plans, just care and kindness." It was that day that Layla realized something important. Her connection with Caleb could become more than just daily walks and snacks. It could become a way to reach others, to create a safe space for children who needed encouragement, guidance, and love. A few days later, Gregory approached Layla with an idea. He had been quietly observing her interactions with Caleb and was impressed by her natural ability to connect with him. "Layla," he said, "I've been thinking. You have a gift. You don't need wealth or fame to make a difference. But with some support, you could reach even more children." Layla hesitated. I don't know if I'm ready for that. I just help Caleb because it feels right. I don't know how to help a lot of children." Gregory smiled gently. "You don't need to know everything. You already have the heart for it. I can provide resources, guidance, and support, but the care, the way you connect with children, that comes from you. That is what matters." Layla thought about it for a moment. She realized he was right. She had always wanted to help people, but she had limited means. Now, with guidance and resources, she could do so much more. After a pause, she nodded. "Okay, I'll try." Gregory's approval was quiet but encouraging. "Good, we'll start small. First, focus on children like Caleb, those who need attention, care, and support. Together, we can expand over time." In the weeks that followed, Layla began visiting Caleb regularly, and soon she started noticing other children in the neighborhood who could use help. She would offer small gestures, snacks, companionship, encouragement, or simply listening. The children responded positively, opening up in ways they hadn't before. Layla realized that many kids didn't need grand gestures. They just needed someone who cared. Caleb grew more confident as well. With Layla by his side, he began expressing himself more freely. He shared stories from school, talked about his dreams of drawing and creating, and even started helping Layla plan small activities for other children. Layla was amazed at how quickly he transformed when he felt supported and valued. One afternoon, while they were at the park helping a group of children build a small garden, Gregory appeared quietly. He watched as Layla guided the kids, encouraging them to work together, to share, and to take pride in what they were creating. He was impressed by her patience, warmth, and natural ability to connect. She didn't need to instruct or control. She simply nurtured, guided, and inspired. "Caleb," Gregory whispered, kneeling beside his son. "Look at her. See how much she can do? This is someone who can help not just you, but many others." Caleb nodded eagerly. "I know, she's amazing." Gregory smiled. "And we can help her do even more, if she's willing." When Layla noticed Gregory, she felt a mix of nervousness and gratitude. I'm just doing what feels right," she said quietly. "You're doing more than you know," Gregory replied. "And with some support, you can make a bigger impact. I want to help you if you want it." Layla thought about the possibilities. She could reach children who were struggling in silence. She could provide them with hope, guidance, and care, something many had never received. She realized this was her chance to do something meaningful, not just for Caleb, but for the community. With Gregory's support, Layla began organizing small gatherings in the park for children in need. She brought snacks, books, and small art supplies. She encouraged the children to play, create, and share their thoughts. Slowly, the gatherings grew, attracting more children who needed someone to care. Parents and neighbors began noticing the positive impact. They saw children smiling, interacting, and gaining confidence in ways they hadn't before. Caleb was thrilled to be part of this. He would help distribute snacks, assist younger children, and even show them how to draw or play games. He was proud to be contributing, and it gave him a sense of purpose. Layla watched him, her heart swelling with pride. The boy she had helped was growing stronger, happier, and more confident, all because someone cared. As the days passed, Layla's work expanded. Gregory provided some resources, supplies, small funding for activities, and guidance on organizing events safely. But the heart of the effort remained Layla's. She was the one who connected with the children, who listened, who encouraged, and who led with kindness. One afternoon, after a particularly joyful session with the children, Layla and Caleb sat quietly on a bench watching the sunset. Caleb leaned back, tired but happy. "Layla, thank you," he said softly. "For everything. I feel stronger now, like I can do more." "You can," Layla said, smiling. "You just needed someone to remind you. And now you're helping others too. That makes me proud." He grinned, a spark of confidence in his eyes. "I want to keep helping, just like you." "You already are," she said, squeezing his hand gently. That evening, Layla walked home feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. She realized that her life had shifted from one of simple routines to one filled with purpose. She was no longer just a woman helping a single child. She was becoming a source of hope and support for many children, and with each small act of kindness, the impact grew. She knew the journey wasn't over. Challenges would come, new problems would arise, and not every child would respond immediately. But she also knew something important. Kindness, patience, and genuine care could change lives. And she was ready to continue, one step at a time, guided by compassion and a desire to make the world a little brighter for those who needed it most. And so, Layla's story evolved. What began as helping Caleb navigate the streets safely had grown into a mission to uplift children, create opportunities, and build confidence. With Gregory's support and Caleb's encouragement, she was stepping into a role she had never imagined, one that would change her life and the lives of many others forever. Months had passed since Layla first met Caleb. What started as simple acts of kindness had grown into a meaningful mission that touched not only Caleb's life but the lives of many children in the neighborhood. The small gatherings in the park had expanded into a modest community center, supported quietly by Gregory. Layla had never imagined this level of impact when she had first stopped to help a boy in a wheelchair on a quiet street. One morning, Layla arrived at the center to find Caleb already waiting at the entrance, a bright smile on his face. "Good morning," he called out, excitement in his voice. "Good morning, Caleb," Layla replied warmly. She could see the confidence in his posture, the ease with which he navigated the center. Over the months, he had grown stronger, happier, and more open, not just because of the support he had received, but because he had begun to help others. Inside, the children were already gathered for the day's activities. Some were painting, others were building small projects, and a few were practicing simple games that encouraged teamwork and communication. Layla walked through the center, offering encouragement, answering questions, and making sure each child felt seen and appreciated. Caleb moved beside her, guiding a younger child through a small obstacle course. "You can do it," he said, his voice full of confidence. "I'll help you." The child smiled, gaining courage from Caleb's presence. Layla watched him and felt a sense of pride. The boy she had helped months ago was now helping others, passing on the kindness that had been shown to him. Later in the morning, Gregory arrived quietly, observing the center's activities from a distance. He had been impressed by Layla's dedication and ability to inspire both Caleb and the other children. Her approach was natural, filled with warmth and patience, not demanding but guiding. He noticed the laughter, the shared joy, and the confidence growing in each child. It was clear that Layla's heart and dedication were at the center of this transformation. At lunch, the children gathered in small groups, sharing food and stories. Layla had prepared simple sandwiches and fruit, making sure everyone had enough. Caleb sat beside her, chatting excitedly about a drawing he had made for a younger child who had been shy all morning. "You should see it," he said, showing her the colorful drawing. "I told her she could be an artist too." Layla smiled. "You're doing an amazing job, Caleb. I'm proud of you." He beamed, clearly pleased by her praise. "I want to help more kids," he said. "I want everyone to feel happy here." "That's the spirit," Layla said. "And you're making it happen." By the afternoon, the center was buzzing with energy. Layla noticed some parents watching quietly from the doorway, observing how their children were interacting and learning. A few approached her, expressing gratitude for the safe and supportive environment she had helped create. Some shared stories of children who had become more confident, less anxious, or more willing to communicate since attending the center. Layla listened carefully, humbled by their words. "It's amazing what you've done here," one parent said. "I never imagined my child could be so confident." "Thank you for caring." Layla shook her head gently. "I'm not doing this alone."
Caleb helps and the children help each other.
"But thank you for saying that. It means a lot." As the day wound down, Layla and Caleb sat together on a bench outside the center. The children had gone home, their laughter still echoing faintly in the air. Caleb leaned back, looking content and thoughtful. "Layla," he said softly, I never thought my life could be this happy." "You've worked hard, Caleb," Layla said, "and you've let yourself grow. You didn't just wait for help. You learned to help yourself and others too." He looked at her, eyes full of gratitude. "And you? You showed me that people can care even when it seems impossible. You changed my life." Layla felt a lump in her throat. "You changed mine too, Caleb. You reminded me why it matters to help, to care, to be patient. You've taught me just as much as I've taught you." At that moment, Gregory approached, walking slowly toward them. He had always maintained a quiet presence, allowing Layla and Caleb to grow without interference. Now he knelt beside them, smiling. "Layla," he said, "what you've done here is incredible, not just for Caleb but for every child who walks through this door. You've shown what true compassion can accomplish." Layla shook her head, humbled. "I didn't do this for recognition. I just wanted to help. And that's why it works," Gregory said. "You help because it's right, not for praise or reward. That authenticity is what touches lives." Caleb looked up at his father. "Dad, she's amazing, isn't she?" Gregory smiled and nodded. "Yes, she is. And we're fortunate she came into our lives." In the following weeks, Layla's center continued to grow. Word spread throughout the neighborhood, and children who had previously felt isolated began attending. Volunteers joined to help with activities, parents offered support, and the center became a hub of hope and encouragement. Layla guided all of it, maintaining her hands-on approach, ensuring that every child felt seen, heard, and valued. One rainy afternoon, as Layla helped Caleb assist a younger child through an indoor activity, she paused to look around. The room was filled with laughter, chatter, and the sound of small victories, children completing projects, overcoming fears, and learning new skills. Layla felt a profound sense of fulfillment. What had started as a simple act of helping a boy on the street had transformed into a community movement of kindness, compassion, and growth. After the activities ended, Caleb and Layla sat quietly, watching raindrops slide down the windows. Caleb leaned back, thoughtful. "Layla, do you think maybe we can keep growing? Help even more kids?" Layla smiled gently. "Yes, Caleb, we can. One step at a time, but yes. We'll keep going together." Caleb grinned. "I want to do this forever." "You're already doing it forever," Layla said softly. "Every time you help someone, every time you smile or share, you're making a difference." As the rain eased, Gregory appeared once more, observing from a distance. He could see the impact clearly. The children were thriving, Layla's leadership was inspiring, and Caleb had grown into a confident, compassionate young boy. It was a testament to what could happen when care, kindness, and opportunity intersected.